This is the Greenway NAC meeting, and we'll do a quick round of introductions. I'll just call on you, and then we'll get started on the agenda. So I'm Miles Glowacki. I'm the neighborhood program coordinator for the city. Mr. Barton.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Barton. I'm the district attorney in Washington County.
Thank you. David.
Hi, I'm David Marciniak with the Willamette Water Supply Program.
Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy Kroger and I'm on the Greenway NAC.
Stacy.
Stacy Reve, City of Beaverton, Public Works Engineering Capital Project Outreach.
Officer Klein.
Yeah, I'm Officer Matthew Klein with the Beaverton Police Department, representing Beaverton for the SNAC meeting. Thanks for having me.
Let's see, Catherine.
Yes, hi, I'm Catherine Ellis, representative from the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District.
Joan.
I'm Joan Miller. I'm a resident in Greenway.
Great, thank you. Rhonda.
I am Rhonda. I am the recorder for the Greenway NAC.
Thanks, Rhonda. Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Platt. I'm the code compliance officer that services the Greenway NAC for the city of Beaverton.
And James.
Hello, my name is James Terwilliger. I'm a resident in the Greenway NAC, and I am here to possibly be looking to be appointed to the alternate position to BCCI.
Great, thank you, James. And Sunny.
Hi, my name is Sunny Mehta. I'm Brian Decker's campaign manager, and I am not Brian Decker, although there are times when I knock on doors in Washington County and people just assume with a mask and glasses that we're the same person, but Brian doesn't wear cool shirts like I do, so. Thank you for having us, or me.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Washington County District Attorney candidates. We have District Attorney Kevin Barton here and the challenger Brian Decker, who Sunny is filling in for. And you each have 10 minutes. And Mr. Barton, would you like to go first?
I'll let Sunny go first, but thank you.
Okay, Sunny, would oh, there you are. You jumped around on my screen, sorry. You have 10 minutes.
Does that include time for questions?
It does, yeah.
Great. Well, my name is Sunny Mehta. I grew up in Beaverton, graduated Southridge High School, and I am really excited to be here representing Brian. I will try and do my best. But Brian is a former federal prosecutor in the Obama administration and has been a public defender in Washington County for the last 4 years. He grew up the child of a single mother, and as a prosecutor in the Obama administration, worked to take illegal guns off of our streets. And as a public defender, worked to ensure that those who can't afford legal counsel are still provided with a strong defense. Brian's been endorsed by Mayor Lacey Beatty, Metro Council President Lynn Peterson, and Metro Councilors Garrett Rosenthal and Juan Carlos Gonzalez, including city councilors like Mariana Valenzuela in Forest Grove, former mayor of Hillsborough, Tom Hughes, and former council president of Hillsborough, Fred Noctegal, and all the way from Sherwood to King City to Banks, city councilors, and a couple mayors have endorsed, one former mayor have endorsed Brian's campaign, including organizations like the Washington County Democratic Party, the Independent Party of Oregon, the Beaverton Education Association, and Washington County UNISERV, Northwest Oregon Labor Council, AFL-CIO, United Food and Commercial Workers, Pro-Choice Oregon, PAC, Basic Rights Oregon, PAC, Asian American Pacific Islander Network of Oregon, Latino Network Action Fund, PECUN, the Farm Workers Union, Safety and Justice Oregon PAC, the Working Families Party. You should go to deckerforda.com /team-Decker to check out our full list of endorsers, because there are a lot. I'm glad to be here and representing Brian, because I frequently get frustrated as a campaign manager when he doesn't mention all the good folks that have endorsed his campaign. But Brian is running to prioritize prevention. The status quo isn't working. Addiction, mental health, mental illness, and poverty are the main drivers of crime, and we need real smart public safety means addressing issues before crime happens, not just reacting after the fact. Serving victims, those who've been harmed by crime deserve a voice in the criminal justice system. True justice means listening to victims at all stages, and our current system doesn't serve many victims and survivors of crime well. And we can't just accept more of the same. It's time for a change. So I'm happy to answer any questions that folks have. I will again try and do my best. I am filling in for Brian tonight because Mr. DA Barton, our opponent, has not declined the Urban League debate. So thankfully, I'm available and can fill in as best I can. So happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, James, go ahead.
Hello, my apologies for the odd screen because I had some network connection issues on my computer, so I'm now in my handheld mode. Thank you for that introduction. I will admit that you mentioned a lot of endorsements. I've been involved in enough local politics in the last few years to know that endorsements can sometimes be a measure of one's connectedness, not of one's approval. So I'm going to ask a different question than that, and that is very specific, which is, you mentioned that the status quo cannot hold. Can you please be much, much more specific than that? What is it that you expect your candidate to change if they get into office?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first off, I think transparency is key, and having a more transparent process around and accountability around office charging decisions, and a more collaborative approach with regional leaders and public safety are important to make sure that we aren't just, like we DA Barton, told the Beaverton Valley Times that if you vote for him, you get more of the same. But what does more of the same look like? Well, gun violence is up, crime is up, and the approaches that DA Barton respectfully have taken, a hard, tough on crime approach, simply aren't working. So we need a collaborative approach. We need less obstruction when it comes to advocacy for a DA at the statewide level. We need more collaboration on the local front. Brian has also been endorsed by legislators like Representative Winsve Campos, State Senator Elizabeth Steiner Hayward, Representative Prusak, Dacia Graber, among others. And it's going to take a lot of different folks at different levels of government to collaborate on making sure that we aren't just trying to solve crime after the fact. Washington County is getting a bad deal. The budget for the DA's office has gone up, and crime has gone up, and this old approach just simply isn't working. Washington County has one of the highest recidivism rates in the state, and is the highest recidivism rate in the metro area. Over 260 cases by the Oregon State Court of Appeals since DA Barton has been in office have been overturned. And that is a waste of money. You should be getting it right from the get-go. A lot of some of those cases that were overturned were for prosecutorial misconduct, including a case involving DA Barton himself. that's a waste of money. We're re-traumatizing victims when cases have to go back down through trial again. And we can't, that's the status quo, basically. And from what we found on knocking over 10,000 doors and talking to thousands of voters, and engaging with community groups and local leaders and business owners, is that they want change overwhelmingly.
Are there any other questions for Sonny? He's got a few minutes left in his time. James, did you have another question?
I do, if that's okay, but if anybody else has one first, please, by all means, someone else should go first.
I don't see anyone.
Okay. Are the Terwilliger curves named after you?
I am related to them. The person
Ah.
for whom we're actually named after the same person. The Terwilliger curves are named after the 6th person who arrived in Portland, who also happened to be the first blacksmith in town, by the name of James Terwilliger. And he donated a bunch of land, which is why it's all after his name up there near OHSU. So then my question following up is, if one's intent is to try to interject into the system before crime happens, how does one do that from the DA's office if a lot of the DA's purview is specifically related to areas of the criminal system that are specifically after crime happens?
Well, unfortunately, I can't, I won't answer on behalf of Brian for like specifics about after the fact, but what I will say is that DA Barton has consistently been an obstructionist when it comes to statewide policy. So, I mean, just I will speak on my own behalf and just tell you that, you know, the DA Barton has been spearheading a conservative right-wing approach, tough on crime approach at the legislative level, instead of actually working on solving challenges and working to address systemic issues like, for example, the public defense crisis that Oregon has right now. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, you know, in the position that DA Barton has had, could have been lobbying for change at the state level and working with the Oregon District Attorneys Association to accomplish change, and hasn't, and has been advocating against policies that would move us forward. Has not, honestly, the campaign rhetoric I've seen regarding Measure 110 and the treatment measure for drug addiction has been obstruction. And there's a ton of money sitting at OHA that hasn't been distributed yet. And, you know, honestly, everything that I've seen discussed about in terms of.
So I gotta cut in there.
Yeah.
Your 10 minutes are up, so.
Okay.
We have to make sure that there's equal time. So. Thank you for your comments and for being here. Kevin, would you like to go? You have 10 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I'm going to respond to a lot of the statements and accusations that Sonny made in a moment, but I want to first tell you a little bit about me, and I'll preface it by saying I disagree with everything he said. So let me start first with who I am. I am your current district attorney in Washington County. I have served in the Washington County DA's office for the last 15 years, the last 4 of which as the elected DA. And the mission of the DA is really simple. It's to keep you safe. And as your DA, I believe we have done just that. Washington County is the safest large county in Oregon. And if you look at our combined property crime and violent crime statistics, the crime rates, it will show that not only are we the safest large county, we're 30% lower than the state average and 50% lower than the crime rate that is in neighboring Multnomah County. I was elected in 2018, and at that time, I beat my opponent by over 40 points. And I ran on the same promise then that I'm running on now, which is to do things like prosecuting criminals, protecting victims, and pursuing responsible reforms. And I've done just that in my 4 years. So some of the important and big things that we've done in the DA's office, aside from keeping the county safe, as we've gone through a difficult last 4 years, but some of the big reforms and changes that we've made have been things like establishing a Veterans Treatment Court, which is a specialty court program for veterans dealing with addiction or mental health issues. We've established 2 different mental health courts to deal with people who are suffering from mental health issues, a domestic violence prosecution team, which our county never had. We've established a cold case unit to go back and try and solve old unsolved sex cases and homicide cases going back to the 70s. A county-based hate crimes team, the first and only one in the state that we actually funded using a federal grant. We established and are working to build what's called a Family Peace Center, which is to serve both children and adults who are dealing with trauma, so things like child abuse and domestic violence, to address something called ACEs, which is trauma that kids have when they're younger. It stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. The idea is if we do more for younger people when they're younger, hopefully we'll see them less in the criminal justice system when they're older. And we established a couple of years ago Oregon's first and only diversity legal job fair to help diversify the employees, not just at the DA's office, but in the entire legal community that serves, of course, the Washington County community. So those are just some of the things we've done in the last 4 years, alongside, as I said, our core mission, which is keeping people safe. When it comes to running for re-election, it might just be one name on the ballot or one name on the yard sign, but a lesson I learned very early on is no person is an island, and you cannot and do not do this by yourself. So I'll tell you who some of my endorsements are, and you'll notice there's a very different type of list that I have than my opponent has. My list is not a political list. It's not a all one side, all one party type list. It's a very big mixture of people throughout the county in different areas of the county. And here's who they are. It's our elected sheriff, Pat Garrett. It's every single police chief in the county from every city with a police department in the county. Every single police officers association. So those are the associations that represent the first responders, all the police officers throughout the county. It's 11 of our current and former mayors throughout the county. It is Republicans and Democrats. So Republicans, Jerry Willey and Roy Rogers from the Washington County Commission. Democrats like former Commissioner Dick Scouten or Representative Susan McLean, a Democrat, or even former Governor Kulongoski have all endorsed me. It's over 20 of our elected DAs throughout the state, 2 of our former United States attorneys, the federal prosecutors in the state, and it's business leaders. Tim Boyle of Columbia Sportswear, a major employer in Washington County, Pat Reeser from Reeser's Fine Foods, the Washington County Chamber of Commerce. All of these people have endorsed me, and the reason is I know them all. I have worked with them all. They know me, they know what I have done. And what I can tell you is the work of public safety requires partnerships like that to keep our county safe. So I'm very happy to have their support. We've got some big challenges in Washington County right now that we're dealing with. Public safety challenges and concerns about rising crime, especially property crime. And what we need is a leader who has the proven track record and experience to tackle those issues. A big issue that I worry about is crime from Portland. And I can tell you, in looking at the crime stats, it's definitely coming into Washington County. And I'll give you an anecdote. The Sherwood chief of police, who's a friend of mine, his personal car was stolen in Sherwood twice and found in Portland twice. And the chances are, if your car is stolen or your catalytic converter is stolen, there's a good chance that's coming from outside the county coming in. We're dealing with rising addiction here in the county, and a lot of that is driven by ballot measure 110, which decriminalized drug use. And according to recent news coverage in the Oregonian, it's total chaos, according to one quote, because that law has not worked. And we need a DA who can help fix that issue. Under ballot measure 110 in the entire state, that ballot measure that promised more treatment, only 19 people last year, 19 for the whole state, actually followed through and received treatment services as a result of ballot measure 110. And that stat that I just shared with you is in the Oregonian. You can read it yourself. Now, I want to talk about some of the things that Mr. Mehta has said. He said that the current system doesn't serve victims of crime well. I beg to differ. I, as a prosecutor, I worked 10 years before I was elected as the DA as a child sex crimes prosecutor. And I have literally worked with victim after victim, making sure that they get the justice they need. And it can't always work for everyone. There are times when the justice system absolutely doesn't do everything for everyone. But I can tell you that our Washington County justice system does work well. And I think it can work even better with continued leadership. Another thing that I heard my opponent's campaign manager say is something about our office not being transparent and not being collaborative with law enforcement and public safety leaders. That's just not accurate. I have strong working relationships with every chief of police and the sheriff in the county. The only public safety leader that actually supports my opponent is a single police officer who's on our office's Brady list for dishonesty. And it's the woman who ran unsuccessfully for sheriff 2 years ago. So my opponent, I believe, is a somewhat of a fringe candidate. The Pamplin editorial board just released a endorsement of me. And in their endorsement, the Pamplin editorial board talked about how Mr. Decker has supported the defund police movement. Mr. Decker, my opponent, he actually founded a nonprofit a couple of years ago that was dedicated to defunding the sheriff's office, defunding the DA's office, and abolishing Oregon's prison system. And when the Pamplin talked about that nonprofit, they indicated that they believed that he connected himself to what they called a fringe ideology that had its 15 minutes of fame in 2020, but then was rightfully rejected by an overwhelming and bipartisan majority. And I just think that that type of a fringe or extreme approach is not something that will keep Washington County safe. So I'd love to use my remaining time to answer any questions that you might have, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with all of you. Mr. Terwilliger.
I regret to feel like I may be the one who's asking all the questions here on all of these. So please, if anybody else has any questions, I assume I'm not the only one in the audience. One thing that the previous speaker also was mentioning was that, if I'm going to extrapolate, that the position of DA does exist in an ecosystem, that the DA may be mostly in charge of things that have happened post the crime occurring, but that true safety, true everything is a holistic thing. And I must admit, I'm a little bit troubled by what you're saying about Measure 110. Now, I will admit I'm a recent replacement back to Beaverton. I grew up in Beaverton, but I've been living in Washington for the past 10 years. So I'm a little bit out of context. And so I apologize if I'm missing something. But generally speaking, my understanding is that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it is community. And so maybe Measure 110 was incomplete, but I'm worried about an approach that recriminalizes a behavior that is still a symptom of something else. And so I'm curious if you can comment on what you think the actual solution is to what's obviously a crisis in the city.
That's an excellent question. Let me start by saying this. First of all, what does Measure 110 do? Measure 110 does many, many things. It's titled the Treatment and Rehabilitation Act, and it was overwhelmingly passed by the voters. There's no doubt about that. The voters spoke and it was passed. I think when most people voted for 110, they thought that it would increase treatment opportunities in the community for people suffering from addiction. That's what all of my friends and neighbors who voted for it, that's what they've told me. And that's what the backers of 110 sold it as, something that would increase treatment opportunities. It did not do that, unfortunately. And it may one day do that down the road. But in the meantime, we have people who are quite literally dying from drug overdose and addiction issues. Unfortunately, before 110, we had a bridge to treatment for these people. And the bridge to treatment was the criminal justice system, where if someone was using, let's say, heroin or meth, and they were seen by the police using that, they would be arrested and prosecuted and forced to engage in drug treatment. They would be required to do that as a condition of their probation. They wouldn't be sent to prison, they wouldn't stay in jail, but they'd be required to participate in drug treatment as a condition of their probation. What we did was, that was working so-so. It wasn't great. There's no doubt about that. The war on drugs was not going well, but that was the bridge to treatment that we had. What 110 did was it tore down that bridge, but it failed to build an alternative bridge. And that alternative bridge that it promised never materialized. And now all the people that were getting into treatment before 110, they're not getting it now. Now the backers of 110 will say, well, give us some time, it'll work in a year or two. But the problem is we have people that are literally suffering right now and dying. And so that's where I have the big problem. Before you tear something down, you need to build something up so you still have that bridge to treatment. And I think that's where 110 has failed. And the way to fix it is to get that treatment bridge built back up as quickly as we can.
Kevin, I've got to cut you off. That's all the time we have for this part of the agenda. So.
Great. Thank you for the invitation, Miles. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Jim. You were able to get on your phone, I bet. You're muted.
Okay, I think I'm set. Can you hear me okay, Miles?
Yep.
Okay, I'm on my phone. I don't know. I used two different computers and they both couldn't get connected to Zoom, and I don't know. And matter of fact, my phone couldn't until I disabled the wireless and made it use, until I disconnected the internet, and then it's working on, data from cell phone. So
I had exactly the same problem.
Me too. So,
so anyway, I guess we can go ahead. My cell phone is my source of time and I can't see a time on it, but we'll go ahead. Let's go ahead with, do we have a community police officer there?
We do. Yep.
Okay, let's let him talk.
Hi, it's Officer Klein. Thanks for having me. As far as doing the standard crime report, we have seen a few extra thefts in our neighborhood, and again, unfortunately, it's the catalytic converter thefts. It's plaguing our area. We've actually successfully caught several people doing it. The community, as far as people with their vigilance, being willing to speak out, getting a hold of us quickly, we've been able to arrest several of the folks that are stealing catalytic converters. Unfortunately, there's still a ton more. We are seeing people trickling at night from Portland, getting under cars and stealing the catalytic converters really quickly. But just be mindful that if you can, park inside your garage, park in well-lit areas, and a ton of like ring cameras and outside lighting is definitely helping fight that kind of the plague that we have going on of catalytic converter thefts. We also, I don't know if you've heard, our chief and deputy chief have announced their retirements. So our deputy chief is already retired, and then our current chief, it's coming up pretty quick. I think in the beginning of May, she's leaving. Well, we have an interim chief on hand, Stacy Jepson. So we're excited to see what new leadership will bring. It's been incredible serving under Chief Groshong. It's been amazing, and we're all sad to see her leave, but we're excited for her future adventures. And some more good notes. Let's see, I've got a list here. We've got we just sent 3 new police recruits to the academy Monday. So they just started. We actually have, we have 6 recruit officers that are currently going through our orientation training, and they're going to hit the road with coaches here pretty quick. And then actually tonight we have some reserves and cadets doing their training, and they'll be graduating shortly. So they'll be out on the road. So it's just been really exciting to see a ton of new officers, a lot of training going on, getting to have our volunteers back in the building. It's really been amazing. And so that's kind of some of the exciting things that are going on with the department. if anybody has any questions.
I have a question about, I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. I have a question about how to prevent catalytic converter thefts other than parking in a garage when you don't have a garage. I
Right.
live in a condo with carports.
Mhm.
I've heard some things like spray painting it with a heat resistant bright paint helps. How does that help?
Well, so and I was actually talking with a coworker about this recently and said I believe it was AT&T or a large company that had a lot of thefts that were happening with their company vehicles. So you'd spray paint the catalytic converter all over with a bright color, and it basically labels it so you can't get the paint off. And so what they do is when they're trying to get it to sell or recycle or whatever, people know that it's stolen. So basically, if we run into someone that's got these brightly painted catalytic converters, you know, it's obviously it's stolen. That's one method that people have been trying to do.
Does that really prevent or help prevent them being stolen?
You know, I wouldn't know the statistics on it. I do know I did talk to one person individually, and this is the only thing I could speak to. She said that she had done that and they'd still cut her catalytic converter off. I don't know how effective it is at been preventing it, but definitely with the carports, if they're able to have motion sensor cameras, motion sensor lights, and you know, it's kind of more the deterrent. But unfortunately, like I said, it's been a hard battle trying to prevent these crimes because they happen so fast. It takes just less than a minute for them to cut these catalytic converters off. If you do hear noises like the sawzalls that they're using, so the metal on metal noise in the sawing, that's actually given away people's what their intentions were, and have alerted car owners to call us, and that's actually several arrests have been made just by people hearing that going on and getting the word out to us immediately.
Okay, does it help? I've heard of these catalytic converter cages or covers. Does that help? And
you know, I haven't personally researched it, but I can imagine if they're able to prevent a metal saw from cutting through and making it harder, that I could see that potentially being effective. I haven't personally researched or heard any success stories from anybody that have used them, but it sounds viable. I think possibly more viable than having the catalytic converter painted.
okay, do you know of any resources for getting this done? I don't have the capability of doing it myself.
Sure. I don't. Like I said, I hadn't researched it, but if I hear anything, I can let you know.
Okay.
I might be actually of some help there. That was actually what I raised my hand for.
Oh, perfect. Please.
I was going to ask the question about the cat shield. My mother is also a homeowner and resident in Greenway NAC. She recently got a cat shield installed. I can try to find out where she got that done and get that information on to Jim for distribution. I can't say whether or not it's effective because it's not like there's like some sort of scientific study. You know, it's not like I've hired a bunch of thieves to say, hey, come try to get my mom's catalytic converter. But I can say it hasn't, she hasn't had a problem yet.
Yeah.
Well, I think if it slows them down, that helps deter them. They see that and they'll go on to the next one.
Yeah, I don't think it's perfect, but I suspect it makes that sawzall activity a lot slower, in which case it goes from a minute to something a lot more than a minute, and then it's just not as easy anymore. The other thing I've been hearing about recently is etchings. I've seen police departments in various places holding free etchings of the catalytic converter itself. Have you heard of those? And whether or not those have been effective? I imagine it's going to be kind of the same thing, similar as the paint, but a little bit more identifiable because they'll be able to trace it back to the vehicle that it was stolen from.
Right. I haven't. I have the experience as far as like folks that have a lot of tools, engraving your driver's license number on it. If we find unique markings, we can run that driver's license number and look up your information to be able to return the item to you. Also, having those unique markings on it, basically you create a serial number on the object. If you don't know the serial number, if it doesn't come with one, and then we can check there's a pawn shop database that we can look at and see if these items are pawned in the area. So it is, unfortunately, it doesn't deter people, but it does give us the ability, if we're able to recover those items, we will be able to contact the owner. Yeah.
If that's a valuable enough component, has the police department considered partnering with a local body shop to get those etchings done? Because not everybody's going to have those tools, but if there was some sort of a community outreach event where people could drive their Prius up and get their CAT converter etched, I mean, that could be a big deal.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic idea. Like I say, we've been really focused on getting things up and running again with our volunteers, but I'm going to take note of that and reach out to our community services division sergeant and see if that would be a viable option. I love that. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, I think that might be it for me if no one has any more questions. Thanks for having me. It's good to see everybody again.
So I have one more question. If you find
Okay.
out information about this or
Mhm.
have further information, how can we access this information? Or how will it?
Jim, if I get that to you, would you be able to disseminate it amongst everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, the new notification thing, if everybody signed up for it, it'll work good when we do an email, but if they haven't, and I don't know if it got mentioned at the beginning, but that new notification thing is a pain because you got to do a password and it rejected my first two passwords. I thought were pretty good passwords. So you got to be determined to get through the thing. But you only have to do your password once and sign up for what you want. But that's normally how we disseminate information is through the email. But I'll get it to you. Okay. We can disseminate information to board members, etc. And hopefully, I suggest you sign up for that notification, and then I'll just do it that way.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, if no more questions, you folks have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll continue on here. Kathy, I heard you on earlier. I can't see everybody on my phone, so I'm a little bit of a disadvantage, but do you want to go ahead and give the presentation for Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec thing?
I sure will. Hi, Jim. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Ellis again. I'm the representative from the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. I have a couple of things to update you all on today. And everything that has a link in my presentation, I'll be putting in the chat as well so that you can grab it, peruse our website and find out more information at your leisure. But the number one thing we wanted to let everybody know is that our summer registration is now open. So Tualatin Hills will be back into the swing of summer camps. That registration began on April 2nd. So activity guides are available online. You can also be coming into any Tualatin Hills open facility and researching and signing up for classes. With summer registration being open, we are also letting everybody know that THPRD hiring is underway. We have lots of great opportunities, but we most specifically want to call out the struggle we're having in our aquatics department right now. So our instructors and our lifeguards are experiencing a staffing shortage that's not just unique to Tualatin Hills or Beaverton or Oregon. It's a nationwide shortage right now for that particular area. So we need people with aquatics experience. Help us spread the word if you know anybody. We're really getting creative. We have started to offer free aquatics trainings. So again, if you go into the activity guides that I'm going to put into the post, you're going to be able to find all of the free lifeguard classes, junior guard classes, and swim instructor classes that we will be offering to our community in order to try to build that need and that staff back up again. But outside of summer registration, we wanted to let everyone know that our HMT trail work has been complete. So our staff has been resurfacing a lot of the soft surface trails in the North Forest area at our HMT complex, which of course is off of Walker and 158th, with some hard packed gravel. So we're hoping that's going to provide a drier experience for our trail users. And another exciting thing, we have our Nature Hills Nature Park is now open to the public all 7 days a week. So prior to the pandemic, it had been closed down, but we are now back open and ready to invite everybody back into the Nature Center. Something close to home, Conestoga Recreation and Aquatic Center was closed down for 6 months. The pool side specifically for a remodel that has now been opened back up to the public. Some of the things that you're going to see in there are new, a whole new deck got poured. We have new ADA lifts, new paint. We have new ADA ceiling lights and new underwater lights. We also have more changing room options. We got a new slide. There's now radiant floor heating. And we also have on-deck pool showers. So if you're someone who loves Conestoga or loves the pool, come check it out. It's ready for another 30 years. The last thing we wanted to let everyone know, again, something that is going to be close to home here with Greenway, is Tualatin Hills and Washington County were awarded Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund grant. And one of the things we're going to be doing with that is installing a total of 3 permanent public outdoor restrooms. And Tualatin Hills has selected 3 sites for that. Hazeldale Park, Schiffler Park, and one to go in at Greenway Park. So that's very exciting, specifically for this community. There will be some public engagement beginning this spring as we start to go through the planning and really the evaluation process of when those will be installed. So that's kind of the highlights for today. I'll pause for any questions anyone might have and put more information in the chat.
I'm Joan. I'd like to let's see what I want to say. I have been a long time swimmer and deep water aerobics participant at Conestoga, and I love having the pool back open.
Oh, good.
And the deep water aerobics class on Monday and Wednesday is fantastic. We have a fantastic instructor. That's Marnie.
Yeah.
And we had between 30 and 40 people in the pool on Wednesday morning. Had a lot of good energy. And so I'm really glad it's back open.
Well, Joan, we're so happy to have you back. We love hearing that. And, you know, we actually took a picture of you all and sent it on to our management because we were so excited this week to see how many people were back and in the pool again. So thanks for that shout out. Happy to have you back.
I thought I saw you when I saw your face. I thought you were the one that was taking the pictures, walking around taking the pictures.
Yeah. James and then Wendy, I think. And sorry if I got that backwards.
Let's have Wendy go first. I've talked to Blue Streak already today.
Great. Wendy.
Hi. Let me turn on. I'm really actually. There's a picture of me. See, I'm really actually here. Hi, Kathy. It's so nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
I was wondering if maybe the next meeting, if you could bring an update on a couple of the things that I know THPRD has been kind of working on. One is, what's the status of the crossing on Shoals Ferry for the Greenway Trail? You know, for the Phantom Creek Trail at Greenway, sorry. What's the status of that? Because I think there is some movement on that, but I don't know what. And secondly, could you give us an update kind of on what's going on at Cooper Mountain? There's a lot of stuff going on at Cooper Mountain that it's not immediately in our neighborhood, but it's a place that a lot of us go to. And it would be nice to know what some of the updates are from what's going on there.
Absolutely. Well, Wendy, of course, you know, we can get you in contact with Bruce Barbarash, who would have the most immediate information for both of those. But I'm happy to go ahead and do a little bit of research. And then when we meet up again, I'll specifically make sure we're highlighting that in the next recap.
Well, I was just thinking everybody else might want to hear it too, so that'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, James.
Thank you. So just on a lark, I decided to bring up the Conestoga Rec Center on mapping tool. And I can't help but notice that the rooftop is flat and bare. And I'll admit a certain bias. Whenever I see a flat, bare rooftop, I get a little cranky just because it feels like there should be something up there, like solar panels or a community garden or something. And so I was just curious, with all of the renovation and stuff of that building, has there been any thought about what to do with that lovely open space on the top of the building?
You know, I can't say immediately, James, that there's been talk about it. I do know that the district has done a lot of research into solar panels over the years. I can't really speak right now directly to why it is that we haven't leaned more into that. But again, I'll be very happy to bring some of that information back up next time. And then as far as the garden area goes, I agree with you. I love seeing those. But a lot of it has to do with how much weight bearing we can actually put on the roof when it comes to more significant things like that. But I'll do some research and bring that answer to you the next time we meet.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. All right. Without any further ado, Jim, I'll kick it back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Miles, is the fire service update going to start yet? They sent an email out saying they were actually going to come to meet Zoom meetings anyway. And has that really started?
I haven't really seen them yet.
Okay, so that's good. We're a little bit behind schedule. I do have a clock in front of me now. And let's go on to the Mensker Pipeline East project. I think it's the two people involved. Are they both here? And if so, can at least one of them start?
Yep, they're here, Jim.
Okay, it's yours. I'll let you introduce yourself and give your presentation.
Great. Thank you so much. Can everyone hear us okay?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Hi, my name is David Marciniak. I'm with the Willamette Water Supply Program. So we'll take a few minutes tonight to update you on our project. It's a drinking water pipeline for the Tualatin Valley Water District, City of Beaverton, and City of Hillsborough. And I'm joined tonight by my counterpart with City of Beaverton, Stacy, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Stacy Rive, City of Beaverton, Public Works Engineering, and I am the public outreach specialist for any of our major capital projects. So we get to coordinate with a lot of different jurisdictions, including the Willamette Water Supply Program, Washington County, ODOT. And as you all know, there is a lot of construction that's going on in and around and through Beaverton. So we thank you again for your patience. So David and Willamette Water Supply Program has been great to work with. So I'll go ahead and let him start his presentation.
Great. So we put a slide show together here. We have some things going on that are very specific to the Greenway NAC. So thank you so much for having us. I'll go ahead and project that. Hopefully it's showing up on your screens. If you can, anyone give me a thumbs up, looking good. Thank you. Great. So I'll run through some information here, give you a little overview of our water system too, for those of you that haven't heard too much about us. So Willamette Water Supply System is the water system we're building. So what happened was that several decades ago, multiple jurisdictions around the area were doing water resource planning, looking at their long-term goals to meet service needs, and they all came to realization that they needed more water to help these thriving communities. And in doing their studies separately, water districts do this typically, their own studies, they all came to similar realizations that the Willamette River and using water credits that each agency has from the Willamette was a viable, cost-effective way to go about getting that future water supply. So Tualatin Valley Water District, City of Hillsborough, and City of Beaverton formed a partnership to build a joint water system to bring a new water resource into the area. And it's a redundant supply for all those communities, helps with emergency supply, emergency storage, and really one of the true drivers as they're meeting that need for service is to make this the most earthquake resilient system in the state. And it'll be able to meet a lot of service goals. If there is an event, a Cascadia subduction zone event would be a very large earthquake that would impact the area heavily. This water system would be able to survive and get water into the community, into the areas of needs to help with the recovery. So that was the combined driver for the communities. And here's a nice graphic that just kind of shows, you know, that Cascadia subduction zone and how we're really designing everything with that in the back of the mind to make sure we build a hardy water system that'll be up and running within you know, the same week of an event to get service back up to the communities. So briefly here, this is a project overview, shows the water system. Starts in Wilsonville. There's an existing water intake down there, and we take the water up through Wilsonville by pipeline, mostly 66-inch diameter pipeline. The pipeline that will be through the Greenway Knack area is a 48-inch diameter pipeline. And the pipeline makes its way up into the communities. There's a new water treatment plant that will be built in Sherwood, state-of-the-art filtration facility. And in total, it's more than 30 miles of that large diameter water pipeline. And then some water storage up on Cooper Mountain as well, that is critical to be stored at a high elevation so that during those emergency events, you don't have to rely on power. You can have that water able to feed down into the communities. So this is a nice kind of schematic that just shows the enormity of this project. Some of you might be familiar with some of the work already going on for us in Shoals Ferry Road. So you see a bunch of pictures here. The one in the top left in particular kind of shows how we work down a busy street that's got you know, business park nearby, sidewalk area, and then we're putting that pipeline in the street. So it takes up several lanes of traffic. And you see the drawing that kind of shows how we plan that out. You know, so it's a sizable work area, and it is mostly within Shoals Ferry Road. And then kind of walks you through, you see these bottom pictures digging a hole. It's typically an 8 to 12 foot hole that we put this pipeline in and install that, and then restore that back to the surface grade in whatever area we are. So it's quite a process. And we keep it moving as quickly as we can, but it is big construction and important regionally for the community, so it does take some time to install a water system of this nature. I spoke a little bit about the roots of the program going back decades in water resource planning. This kind of shows how that has evolved over the years. You know, back in the early days, working up through some of our permitting, design and construction. And then the goal is to have this system up and running in 2026, July of 2026. Overall, we have work going on in a variety of areas. This shows our progress for the total water system down at the Wilsonville area, these intake facilities. They're about halfway done with construction right now. Water treatment plant is just breaking ground, so no construction progress there, but it's fully designed and all planned out. We have about 25% of our pipeline in the ground right now. Some of you might be familiar with the Roy Rogers Road widening that the county did. And what we did is we partnered with the county during that project to actually install our pipeline while the roadway work was going on so that we could get the work done more efficiently as they were doing that construction. And then up on Cooper Mountain, those water storage tanks, not quite broken ground, they're just starting up there. So They're getting ready to be underway there. Big driver for us is local economy. We love demonstrating how we're giving back to the local economy, and we track a lot of what we're doing in the community. You know, we're a $1.6 billion water program, so we want to make sure we're maximizing that money spent in our local community. And to date, about 91% of what we've done has stayed within the local area, and we consider local anything within 50 miles of our project sites. So that's a significant boon for the local economy and the regional economy as well. I'll go into some backstory on the Metzger Pipeline East itself and show you some specific work to the Greenway NAC now. So this Metzger Pipeline East, this is the eastern connection of the Willamette water supply system. So it's a very important function to bring water into the city of Beaverton, and as well serving as a connection point on the easternmost areas for the Tualatin Valley Water District. What happened was several years ago, they looked at different routes, and there was always a need for a Metzger pipeline for Tualatin Valley Water District. But in addition, City of Beaverton had some water needs to install some 16-inch diameter pipeline for system redundancy to help tie their system together, in addition to this eastern extension that was needed for a new water service. So they looked at combining the projects. It's a good way to reduce community impacts by just having, instead of concurrent construction projects, one after the other, after the next, to treat them as one project and take a more holistic approach and combine them all into one construction area. So that is how the Metzger Pipeline East evolved. And here we have a picture that shows Beaverton's work that's part of this partnership for putting in the water system. Stacy, I don't know if you want to take a minute there, kind of talk about the partnership and the Beaverton part of the water line.
Sure. So as David mentioned, this is a combined project. So the city of Beaverton has a 16-inch water line installation project that's going in simultaneously as the 48-inch water line from the Willamette Water Supply Program. So this does help, obviously, cost savings, and limit rework through combining construction. And it's always nice to not see a road ripped up twice, right? That's kind of how I look at it. So that's nice. And then one thing to kind of mention is, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Western Avenue. So the 1.1, so there are three different parts of the MPE, or this Metzger Pipeline East project. There's a 1.1, a 1.2, and a 1.3. The 1.1, so 48-inch water line with the 16-inch water line, is going along with our Western Avenue road work. So it's already a heavy lift doing the road work, but you know, combining different jurisdictions and coordinating with lots of different contractors, of course, that does make it even more complicated. But I feel like coordination effort has just been going really well, and it's been seamless. So thanks to all the teams involved in that. And then 1.2, again, that work is along Shoals Ferry, and that's where we're also working with Willamette Water Supply Program. And then 1.3 actually continues on down to Roy Rogers.
Yeah, so looking at those phases here, thank you, Stacy. This shows how that's broken up. So really working from Western, that 1.1 phase on the north. And then the second phase is the middle portion, which goes to Greenway Park. That's actually the dividing line between our second phase and our third phase. And then that third phase, taking that pipeline work down to Roy Rogers Road, where the pipeline's already installed, and it connects into the new water system there. So in total, that's about 6.8 miles of the larger diameter 48-inch pipeline, half a mile of 24-inch pipeline, which is the Metzger connection portion, which is on Hall Boulevard, and then about 3.2 miles of that 16-inch pipeline, and several tunnels. So to get under the waterways, Fano Creek, for example, we tunnel under Fano Creek twice. as well as tunnels under Highway 217 and the West Railroad line. Generally speaking, timeframes, the 1.1 is underway. That goes through into 2023, early 2023. The second phase is underway now, and that goes till later in 2023. And then that third phase, the MTE 1.3, is just been awarded, hasn't broken ground yet, and that heads into 2024. So lots of work going on throughout the next several years there. The earliest work area we had was to cross 217. So some of you that travel through this area have probably seen multiple projects going on. So ODOT has a project going on to enhance access and flow through the area. But in addition to that, we're working with them in parallel to install the pipeline. So the orange lines here are ODOT's work. Then you see our lines here. The yellow is pipeline we've installed or are currently installing. The solid lines are actually tunnel locations. So that gives you an idea of the tunnel locations to get under the roadways and highway. And the yellow is the 48-inch, and then the red, since this is such a congested area, we actually sent the 16-inch up Cascade and then tunnel across the highway towards the park and ride there. So that kind of gives you a snapshot of how we maneuvered through that challenging area. So most of this is significantly done. There's a lot of work still to be done on Cascade, but a lot of this work up through the ramp area with the yellow line is complete. And they're currently in Shoals Ferry Road near the park and ride, installing pipeline. So now specific for Greenway Park area is the new work site. So what will be occurring down here is it's along Shoals Ferry Road. We've worked with THPRD to acquire a work site. And what that entails is a tunnel shaft. We needed a large area where we could create a tunnel to go under Fano Creek. So here you see the yellow that shows the tunnel itself, and then it comes up into the plaza area where it will end. And then you see the blue pipeline, how we connect that through the area. So in planning this, we worked a lot with THPRD just to coordinate the logistics of that, make sure we're minimizing impact to the trail, finding a nice safe work site that we can have a perimeter where we're not inconveniencing the public as much. And this site will allow us to get our work done a lot more efficiently and safely, while also preserving the environment, since we'll be well outside of the wetland area and creek area for that spot. So construction is slowly beginning. So if anyone's been out there, you've probably started to see some stakes. So that is our work site being kind of delineated. And then slowly over the next several weeks, you'll see an increase in activity in this work site. A couple of the different impacts here shown in red are some of the bicycle lane, sidewalk, and traffic impacts that will be periodic in nature. So since we'll have the tunnel largely contained within the park area, what will happen is from time to time as they do the pipeline closer to the road, then some of these impacts would be greater. When they're near the plaza on the other side of the tunnel, there will be a period of time where they'll basically close down a lane of traffic just so they can get trucks in through the work site without having to go into the plaza. So those are some of the couple different traffic, bicycle lane, sidewalk impacts you'll see from time to time. And that'll be periodic in nature. Access to the plaza will be maintained. And access to the trails, for the most part, we don't anticipate impacting those trails that cross our work site. We have located the entrance of our work site just off of the Shoals Ferry Road trail intertie there. So even though we have, you see the orange box has the corner on the trail there, we won't be entering or impacting the trail at that corner. Where you would see a trail impact might be as they're installing the pipeline coming out of the park, which will be at a future date. That's unknown at this time. And certainly we'll be giving the public several updates as we get closer to some of those impacts there. So tunneling itself is about a 7-month operation. And then in addition to that, we have the pipeline and then restoration, which will be through November of 2024 in some capacity. Sometimes a lot less work going on, sometimes more. So just real quickly, we appreciate your time. Some more pictures here just to show the scope of the work. So on the left-hand side, you see some pictures of what that typical tunnel operation kind of looked like. Big hole in the ground. It'll be about 28 feet deep in the park area. And they'll perform the tunneling down there. It's all very contained, so you don't really even know what's going on much. And then some activity above the ground with some cranes lowering materials and taking out materials as needed. And then on the right, you see a couple of our pipeline laying activities. So the upper one is them putting the pipe on the ramp area, the off ramp for Highway 217 to Shoals Ferry. And then the lower one is an aerial view of some of the night work that's been going on in that area as well. So you can just kind of get a feel for the enormity of it and complexity of coordinating all this. Real briefly, just to kind of give you an idea, our traffic setups vary through the area. We try to be in the middle of the road as we're working through the community. That way we can have construction going in each direction around us. So this kind of depicts our ideal setup, but we do need to go to either side of the road on occasion, whether it's for getting ready for a stream crossing like here at Fano Creek, which you saw on the earlier map, or it might be to just get the pipeline to the other side of the road where there's yet less utility conflicts. So in situations like that, we send it off to the other side of the road and then kind of stack traffic on the opposite lanes, as you would see in this diagram there. To learn more about us, we're pretty active out there to educate people. Enter a lot of our information on ODOT's trip check tool. So they have a very nice interface where we can enter our current construction impacts and any impacts to traffic areas. And then that broadcasts to like Waze and Google Maps and some of those smart devices out there that are becoming also common these days. We have a great partnership with City of Beaverton. There's a 1610 AM is a City of Beaverton owned frequency to share general information and for emergency broadcast purposes. So we actually broadcast some information about the project and current traffic impacts on there as well. And then individualized detour education. We just really like to go around to groups such as this, to those neighbors that are most impacted. Stacy and I are constantly knocking on doors and meeting people just to explain it as we go and answer any questions that are out there. Website we have set up, people can visit is the ourreliablewater.org/MPE. That gets you to our main page. And you can also email us or call us. You see the information there. We're very active on Twitter as well. We send out a lot of traffic alerts through Twitter and YouTube as well. If anyone wants to catch up on some good videos, we have several videos that are on YouTube that talk about just the importance of the project to also talk about our progress, in addition to just interesting little video clips of different work going on around the community. So with that, I'm sure you might have a few questions, or maybe that was enough for you. But we'll have a large impact in the community for several years to come, and we look forward to keeping you all updated as we build our project through your neighborhood.
Yeah, any questions? We have a few minutes.
I just want to thank you for this information. This is wonderful. And it's a huge, huge project, like you said. And I like you combining it, the construction with other projects that are going on.
Yep, absolutely. That's very important for us. We try to look for opportunities to combine wherever we can. And we were fortunate here where we had a City of Beaverton need on multiple levels for their water line and their roadway, in addition to partnering, on other needs through the area. So certainly.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yes. David,
Okay.
you, at the beginning of your presentation, maybe I misunderstood because this is a huge project, obviously.
Sure.
But did I understand you to say that this system, at least to Beaverton, that it is a backup water system?
Yeah, so it meets the future need for all of the communities. So, and Stacy can expand a little bit, but City of Beaverton gets its water resources through multiple sources. And all of these communities, one of those common multiple sources is the Joint Water Commission, which is a very limited supply. So this helps meet the need for those communities that need that extra water beyond their Joint Water Commission current allotment, and help have the redundancy, meet the future need, as well as helping supply the resilient water resource for the communities.
Okay, so it is considered an auxiliary or backup plan at the present time, once it's fully completed.
Yeah, I don't know, Stacy, you can expand on that a little bit as far as how it works into the water resource portfolio and.
I would say, yeah, I could definitely do that. But to be honest with you, I'm still learning a lot about how that all kind of works together. So I wrote that down. I said, oh, that's a kind of a good question. So I need to learn a little bit more about that, but I can definitely email you, Ramona, and get you a good answer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a complex subject, so we really don't have time to go into it tonight. So
Jim, I had a question.
Okay.
Sorry, my hand's up, but I don't know if you saw it. This is Wendy.
I see it after somebody selects you, but I can't see the group as a whole.
Okay.
With just my phone.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank both David and Stacy for a lot of good information. I live fairly close to 217 and Shoals Ferry, and I've been very interested in, it's almost you can't get there from here on some days because I can't get out of many ways. I usually get out of my neighborhood. So it's been kind of interesting. I did have a couple of questions, if I may. One is, you mentioned, I think you called them supply tanks, the water tanks, and you had mentioned Cooper Mountain. And are you planning on putting any place else besides Cooper Mountain?
No, we aren't. That's the primary area for the storage. Okay,
thank you. And I just also wondered about work hours. I haven't heard a lot of noise at night, which I really appreciate. But being as Greenway Park is a natural area, there are a lot of critters that kind of need the night to be quiet and not lit as much as possible. So I was wondering what plans you had in place for taking care of that.
I appreciate that question. So work hours, I'll have to see what the specific work hours for the Greenway Park activities might be. I haven't heard yet, but our work hours do vary because of the road work. A lot of the intersections are technically or logistically are hard to get through an intersection with the massive amount of traffic. So we tend to try to do night work when we have situations where we need to impact traffic less. So each work area is a little bit different. Hall Boulevard, for example, that'll be mostly a night work area because we know that by having that done at night, it's going to just help alleviate some of the traffic concern on the roadway and have less of an impact to those business neighbors we have there. Yeah, as far as the park, I know on the one side at the business plaza, we will have some restricted hours over there to a certain extent. But I'll check and I can get a little better information on what the hours for the actual park footprint of the site will be.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anyone else? Because we are running out of time. We really need to get on. Oh, thank you, David. And
thank you.
Well, I suspect we'll have more questions as the work progresses and it gets noisier and more traffic impacts, etc. So anyway, nice to hear your thing, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions later on. Okay, and let's go on. The next, it's you, Miles, the city update. Obviously, we need to keep it fairly short, so it's up to you.
Before we get started, Kevin Platt is here. He's your code service representative. He just wanted a minute or two to speak, then I'll do the quick update.
Hey, thank you, Miles. Hey, I just wanted to let everybody know with spring around the corner, a lot of home improvement projects are coming up. Please remember to put bark dust, rock, building materials, any of that stuff. Please try to put it in your driveways. If you can't, please try to let us know ahead of time so we're not getting calls about the roads being blocked. It's been kind of a big issue. Basketball hoops in the street also, if you have basketball hoops and kids play on them, that's awesome. We love to see that. Please make sure the basketball hoops come out of the street after use. If they go into the planter strip, that's fine. We're not worried about that as long as they're not blocking sidewalks or roadway for emergency vehicles and ADA access. I think that's most of what I had. Please remember to trim your bushes and your trees so sidewalks and roadways are clear. And I believe that's about everything we have going on in the Greenway area at this moment. If you do yard work improvements, large areas of yard, please contact the city so we can get permits in place for that. We've been having a lot of unpermitted work in the Greenway area recently. Site development has been working with us to get those permitted and handled, but they are popping up. So if you have any questions, I'm available really quick.
I've got a quick question. What is the nature of most of the unpermitted work, just in case it's like, just to know what to look out for?
We've had several different types. There have been a couple where people have replaced sidewalk and added additions to their driveways. Private property is not something we're super concerned about, but it is something that needs to get permitted. But if you're doing any work in the right of way, like sidewalks or taking down trees in the planter strips, those need to be permitted, or at least talk to the permitting office or the city arborist for, especially when we're coming regarding trees. And then there have been few where people have decided to re-landscape and they've done large areas like their entire front and backyard at the same time, which is totally okay. We just need it permitted for make sure it has proper erosion control and soil disturbance measures.
Does this include retaining walls? Because I need to redo it. I'm going to redo a retaining wall.
If you're redoing it and you're not adding any height to it or anything like that, Jim, I think you're okay there. If you want us to come take a look at it, obviously just give us a call. We'll come out and take a look and just say, hey, yeah, you're good. Or, you know, is this something you might want to look into? But yeah, we're happy to take a look at it.
But if you
Okay.
wanted to do something like remove a lawn and put in raised beds, that might be something to have someone come out.
You can have us come out. You should be okay if it's a small area. If it's below, I think it's 200 square feet.
Okay.
So you should be okay if you're operating within your yard and doing yard improvements. That's okay. We don't have we're not too worried about that. But just as long as you maintain kind of soil and erosion control. So as long as it's not, if there were to be a rainstorm and there's not soil running over the sidewalk and down into the storm drains.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? All right, Miles, it's your show.
Okay, I'll be real quick. This is the city news. We've got April 22nd, April 2022 is Arbor Month in Beaverton. There was a proclamation recognizing the importance of trees and parks and the encouragement of tree plantings and care throughout Beaverton. The city maintains nearly 40,000 trees to enhance the community beauty and improve the quality of our neighborhood. Beaverton's been recognized for 28 years as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Foundation. And this year, the city will receive a growth award for the 18th year. You can learn more about Beaverton trees at beavertonoregon.gov/trees. Our new website just went live this week. It's redesigned and should improve the user experience for the nearly 1 million annual visits to the site. The site will better highlight timely and relevant information for community members, and the navigation is intuitive and user-friendly. And you should check out the new website at beavertonoregon.gov. And then finally, I think Ramona's going to talk about this in a minute, but just a reminder, the Beaverton Voters Forum is April 28th. You can join community members for an evening with the candidates running to represent you. We're going to have candidates for Beaverton City Council positions 1, 2, 3, and 5. And the forum is Thursday, April 28th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Patricia Research Center for the Arts. And you need to, tickets are free, but you do need to get a ticket from the research or from beavertonoregon.gov/voters forum. Those are all the updates I have, Jim.
Okay, that's fine. And I understand that Reasons changed the rules. So instead of having to be just vaccinated, all you need is a mask to get in.
That's correct.
Okay, which makes it a little bit simpler. Okay, let's go fast here. There are no local land use issues other than tearing up 217 and Chills Ferry and all that, but those have all been spoke about. Are there any neighborhood concerns or visitor comments that somebody would like to bring to the attention of the neighborhood association?
Wendy has her hand raised.
Who has?
Wendy.
Oh, okay. I can't
do.
see, at least on the phone, I can't see everybody. So if there is a way, I don't know what it is. So.
Well, I had two questions that have to do with city things. And I wasn't sure whether there was already a plan in place to talk about them at some point. One is fireworks. And I believe the city is having a work session with the council at some point about fireworks, but I don't know the details. Because we were very concerned last summer with the heat and, you know, the wind and all of the things that we had. And we had asked at that time that the city take a look at either potentially fully banning or trading off or doing something about fireworks, because a lot of people get really upset with them, both for pets, for veterans. There are a lot of reasons to be upset about them. So if there's anything going on with the city, it would be really great to have kind of a heads up of what's going on.
Wendy, April 26th, City Council is going to meet to talk specifically about fireworks.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's super. The other question I had is, it's the housing options process or project. And I know that the city council is probably going to be talking about that at some point too, but that's the one I think we all got notices that basically our R7s are going to be no more. And the way I read the rules that are being proposed, somebody could put up a fourplex about 1.5 feet from my property line. So I'm not real excited about that. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of other people wouldn't be excited about it either, but I don't know if they know about that. So I was wondering if there was going to be any kind of discussion or presentation to the NACs about what the upcoming plans are.
I know that they presented to BCCI. I don't know that they're going out to all the neighborhoods.
Yeah,
think
you know, they presented to city council just a couple of weeks ago, right? They had a presentation. The rules are sort of draft mode now. And I think they need to go on. I'm on the sort of the Citizens Advisory Committee, but we're pretty much done with our work. It's up higher levels now.
Well,
And
it's higher level, but Jim, I'll tell you what, when I talk to my neighbors and they find out that they're not gonna have the same zoning and they're gonna, you know, they're not happy. So I don't know what's gonna happen when this suddenly explodes.
yeah, well, I'm not too happy either. And I don't like the lack of parking, some other
Right,
things
right.
that are going to, I can present that at a presentation. I can probably get somebody that knows to talk to us about it. So I'll see how that goes. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
You know, I don't know what their timeline is for getting all this done. So I'll check. You know, some of this is dictated by the state. So, you know, no matter what we want to do, we can't say we aren't going to do it. Or the city is not going to say we aren't going to do it because the state's going to make us. So,
Jim, that's a real handy argument. And I understand the rules exactly from the state. However, I think there are different ways of doing this than what's being proposed. And I think that some of us who have gardens, for example, we're not going to be real excited to have a fourplex all around us for a lot of reasons.
well, I agree. Probably the only consolation is all this will never happen in our lifetimes. But I mean, you know, you know, judging from how slow they're going. Yeah, I'll talk to the person that's in charge of this, right, and see if he'll do a Zoom presentation at a future NAC meeting. You know, when you hear it presented the way they present it, you don't think it's so bad, but when you really look at it, it's bad.
It's pretty bad. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Let's BCCI. Do you have a report, Ramona? If it is, keep it pretty short.
Well, mainly, I was going to say that the mayor gave the state of the city address on March 29th, and I think that's a recording that can still be viewed. Is that correct, Miles? Okay. And then the deal with the city's new website, which all the trouble we had tonight getting our NAC meeting started, I was attributing to the update or the upgrade. Maybe that has nothing to do with it, but I had lots of difficulty getting on, and I was amazed that I finally did. And I am concerned now about notifications being sent to me because I have multiple different committees that I want to be notified of, and I cannot make the change. The city is, or the system is saying that my password does not agree with my email name, and I've never had a password with the city, so I don't know what the heck to do. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in that boat. So that's a major concern as far as notification. And the only other thing I had was the voters forum that you've already announced. So that's it for the BCCI report.
Yeah. Yeah, Ramona, once you get past the password part of it, which I spent a lot of time on that too.
I don't have a password. I never had a password with the city.
Well, I know. So you have to generate a new one. But once you get on there, you can select all the various things you want to get notifications from at one time. So it's not that bad a deal, but you know, people are going to get stopped at the password and just give up, you know, I think. It's really, and it's also the fact that the old notifications are done, right? They aren't going to move them. They're just going to stop. So I'm not very impressed with that. Okay. I'm going to skip the old business, Greenway NAC for potential projects for 2022. We're going to talk about the adopt a road in the next new business. So first, James Terwilliger wants to be the alternate BCCI rep. I'm that, but I'm perfectly willing to let him come in. I think it's time we bring some new, younger, more enthusiastic people into it. And I've been looking for this for quite a while. So what I would like to just take a vote, and I'm not gonna be able to count very well, maybe somebody else can. What I would like to do, propose is that we basically elect James Terwilliger for alternate BCI rep. So do I have a second for that?
Do you have a quorum?
I don't know. I can't see it. Yeah, I'm on my phone, my PC, you know, and I got two PCs and one's a Chromebook, and they both can't hook up to the Zoom website. So I don't know.
You have 5 board members here right now.
Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it. We only have 12 board members total, and it's 30% or something like that. So we're 4 at 4, we're fine. We got 5, we're fine. So,
okay.
Well, basically, I made the proposal that we elect Jim. I need a second.
This is Wendy. I second it.
This is something I'm all for. I think it's a good idea. So, you know.
I appreciate that.
Second.
I didn't know actually that I was displacing you, Jim. I was told that it was vacant, and now I'm feeling a little weird.
They displaced me for a long time. You get, okay. You get 80, you get thrown away. So, but that's fine. Things have changed a little bit, and I'm perfectly willing to do this. So,
okay, I appreciate that. I just wanted you to know I didn't actually know that you were filling that role. I was told it was vacant, so I'm
well,
just so you know.
I don't know where they came up with that opinion, but I think it's a good idea. I really do.
Okay.
You know, if we don't bring the younger people in and start building up, you know, at least middle-aged people, our NAC's gonna just disappear.
Well, I appreciate being called a younger person. It's a good change of pace.
Well, you're younger than I am. Let's put it that way. So, anyway, any discussion on this proposal? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Can somebody tell me how many that is? Okay, I can't see everybody, so somebody has
4.
to tell me.
I see 4.
Okay, and therefore there's only 5 quorums, so you know, all those opposed can say nay or abstain, but what 4 wins, so that's a done deal. And you will be notified by Lanny tomorrow, as you know, for the new meeting and everything.
I appreciate that, Jim. Thank you so much. Very grateful. I look forward to serving.
Of course, again, we also have an unfilled vice chair. I mean, would you be interested in that? I mean, you can.
I actually would not mind if it's unfilled and if it's a role that would do some help. I would not mind it.
Well, you saw what happened tonight when I couldn't get on. I mean, you know, and I'm getting up there. Yeah, I would like to really recommend you. And we have a quorum, which we don't always have, even at election time. So, you know, I would like to put it this way, and we have we can, outside of elections, have a special election. So I would like to nominate you as vice chair, which right now is an unfilled position.
Okay, I'm willing to serve.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so all those in favor, raise their hand. Yeah, I can't see from my standpoint, but I want to assume there's at least 4 hands raised.
There are.
Okay, so Jim is our new vice chair. I think that's really a good idea to get a vice chair. I did, I haven't missed a meeting for ages and ages, but I have more and more things that could take me away, health issues, etc. So,
Totally.
this is-
I'm flattered and I'm very grateful, Jim. Thank you.
okay. Of course, you realize eventually I'm gonna suggest you take over being chair, but
One
a
step,
little
one step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. I thought that was too much for now. Okay. The other thing we need to do is discuss our adopt a road cleanup, which we were talking about the 23rd, which is also Salt Cleanup Day and all that, but that doesn't bother us. So one question is, do we have 4 people that will volunteer? That's important. I didn't check the website to see if that date is available, but I don't think it's a problem.
April
So,
23rd, is that what you're talking, Jim?
Yeah.
That's
not
this,
much.
that's this coming Saturday.
Right. Whoops. Are you still there?
Yes,
Okay, just a second.
Bob, are you available? Yeah, for road cleanup. Okay.
So I missed some of that. I knocked my phone over. So do we have 4 people?
Well, Bob and I can help on Saturday. That's 2.
We don't have anybody else, right?
I don't know. Where are our other voters that were voting a while ago?
If it were a little bit further out, that's exactly the kind of thing I'd love to help out with. But unfortunately, this weekend I'm finishing off my move from Redmond to Beaverton.
Oh. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's really unfortunate I can't see, and this is really a strange failure on the way it's failed, because I've used 2 different computers and my phone would not work on going through the internet, but it did through the cell service. So I'll go down and reset my router and everything after the
It's
meeting.
not your router, Jim. It happened to at least 2 others of us. I had the exact same thing happen to me.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, with only 2 volunteers, I'm hesitant. If you really want, let me check tomorrow, okay? It's Ramona. I'm not going to send a message. I was going to send a message out on notifications, but I don't think that's going to do any good right now. And but I can check tomorrow. I'll check with Ann Franey and I can't think of the other person's name.
Cindy?
Huh?
Cindy?
Yeah. If they can do it, then we're fine. Okay.
Well, she's right here online now.
Cindy, can you help?
At least her name is appearing. And there's Joan.
Joan hasn't, that's me. I have an injured hand and arm, so I don't know
Okay.
with one, if I could
No,
just do it one-handed.
nope.
Otherwise, normally I'm available to help with
Okay.
things like that.
That's okay. How about you, Cindy? Can you assist this Saturday?
Not there. Okay.
Nothing.
I'll check with her via email. I mean,
Is this something that happens more than once a year?
yeah,
Yes, it's supposed to happen 4 times a year.
Okay.
Cindy is not available this Saturday. She just is unable to talk right now
Oh, okay.
as
Well,
her personal secretary.
Could we shove it back to the 30th, Jim?
Yeah, I can check that. But let's tentatively go on the 30th. We've had such lousy days weather-wise, and this Saturday looked good as far as I could see. So, but yeah, let's go with the 30th. We haven't had much time for advertising it, and I'll send emails out to the people that have helped in the past. How's that?
Okay,
Or, you know, if I get some of this other information I'm supposed to get to help people, you know, that the people have said they're gonna send, then I'll do it. Anyway, I'll check on the 30th and let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting, okay?
okay.
Any problems with that? Then the meeting is officially adjourned, okay?
Okay.